So we're going to start with a review of the new lines we're working with from the Anapanasati Sutta. The first new line is, I will breathe in sensitive to joy. I will breathe out sensitive to joy. The next line, I will breathe in sensitive to happiness. I will breathe out sensitive to happiness. Next, I will breathe in sensitive to wanting. I will breathe out sensitive to wanting. And last, I will breathe in sensitive to not wanting. I will breathe out sensitive to not wanting. So I wanted to talk about, since this is a section on feeling, on Vedana, is the Buddha's term for feeling tone, the tone of the feeling that you have, whether it's pleasant, leading to wanting, or unpleasant, leading to not wanting. And the wanting and not wanting together, the Buddha calls craving. The craving for something to exist, to be, and the craving for something to not exist, to not be. And there's a section from a sutta called the Nidana Sutta that has always struck me as being like a real foundational relevance to our approach to the news, to events in the world. And I thought that would be quite relevant this week. So this is what the Buddha had to say. And I'm going to read and break it up with commentary as I read. The Buddha says, this is the way to understand how from feeling as a requisite condition comes craving. If there were no feeling at all, in any way, of anything anywhere, in the utter absence of feeling, would craving be discerned? No. Thus, feeling is the cause, the origination, and the requisite condition for craving. The importance in our lives and in our practice is the recognition that the arising of wanting or not wanting, liking something, not liking something, begins with a sense of whether you find it pleasant or unpleasant. Always, 100% of the time, when there's the arising of any kind of preference for something to be part of your experience, for something to not be part of your experience, it begins with a feeling of a sensitivity to whether you find the experience arising to be pleasant, whether you find the experience arising to be unpleasant. That underlying feeling tone, Vedana, is where preferences are formed. Because, no, I'm going to take that back. That's not the right way to say it. It's too confusing. Preferences reside, I'll just for the moment call it, in our perceptual system. And our perceptual system has been molded all our lives by our genetics, by our life experience, by the culture we live in, the people we've been in contact with, um, a million things, more than a million. And our preferences are unique. Each of us has a preference system that is unique. And when we encounter um, any experience, a thought, a bird flying by, the clouds, um, you know, the experience of walking down a city street, all of these things are interpreted as pleasant or unpleasant by the perceptual system that you have. So one person may be a country person and they walk down a city street and it's all gross to them, unpleasant. Another person may be thrilled. They've got a new apartment in the city, they're walking through the city, and everything on that city street is just a delight. It's all preference. It's not intrinsic. It's not in the nature of the experience of the phenomena that's presenting itself in experience. It's our perceptual system that determines whether we see it as pleasant or unpleasant. And if we see it as pleasant, there is wanting. We crave for it to exist, to be part of our lives. And if it's unpleasant, there's not wanting. We want to be away from it, go somewhere else, do something else, have it depart. So this is how craving arises out of this feeling, this perception of something being pleasant or unpleasant. And so the Buddha takes it further. The Buddha said, feeling conditions craving. Craving conditions seeking. So as soon as the experience of wanting or not wanting arises, we begin to seek some kind of method to achieve our goal, which is to have it or to get rid of it. So we begin seeking, we're tracking our memory, the situation, we're seeking. Seeking, the Buddha says, conditions acquisition. Aha, we've come upon something in our experience, or we invented and formed something completely new to achieve our goal of wanting or not wanting. So we've acquired a method. Acquisition conditions discriminating. Well, once we've acquired a method, then other things don't fit. So we're discriminating. We've come with a sense that this method is right. This method will achieve my goal of getting rid of that which I don't want, or my goal of sustaining contact with that which I do want. This method is better than the other methods. And so excitement arises and discrimination conditions desire and passion. Because you found the method, you found what you're going to get what you want. Your preference is going to be met, it seems. So you're all excited to be able to achieve your goal of getting rid of or keeping. And you become passionate. Passion is sort of in this way, I would define it as a combination of the narrowing down of focus, so that you're really focused on this one thing, plus the strength of the desire. So passion is sort of a narrowed, strong desire. Desire and passion conditions attachment. Attachment could also be called clinging. the attachment is the beginning of the process of getting so narrowed down in your focus that you're like hitting sort of obsession, which we hit like every second of our lives. But it's just really a sense of grasping, but not just grasping with like all my focus is on that grasping. The sounds, the ambient sounds, the temperature outside, whatever it is, becomes like either unnoticed or barely noticed because the focus has become that desire and passion has really created a focus of this is what I'm going to do, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And that narrowing attachment conditions possessiveness. This is mine. This is my way. It can even reach the point of this is my belief. This is what needs to happen. And in that possessiveness, there is a complete ignoring that all the other beings on the planet are also wanting and not wanting. And they may want or not want the opposite of what you want or not want. And so, you're really, this discriminating has become isolating, separate. And so this wanting or not wanting, you own it. It is you, and you want, it needs to happen, even in face of opposition. And possessiveness conditions stinginess. There's a belief in a lack of abundance, that my way or the highway, it's I want this thing. I don't want this thing. That's what needs to happen. And other people's needs that conflict, there's no room for that. Stinginess. Stinginess conditions defensiveness. Other people are saying, no, I really like it, while you're feeling we need to get rid of this. Well, now you're defensive. How could you really like it? What's wrong with you? It's obviously a bad thing. It obviously needs to be gotten rid of. You're an idiot. And then the Buddha finishes by saying, and because of defensiveness, dependent on defensiveness, various evil, unskillful phenomena come into play. The taking up of weapons, conflicts, quarrels and disputes, accusations, divisive speech, and lies. That's the end. Pretty intense. Pretty intense. So I'm going to read through the whole thing again so you can get the full flow. This is the way to understand how from feeling as a requisite condition comes craving. If there were no feeling at all, in any way, of anything anywhere, in the utter absence of feeling, would craving be discerned? No. Thus, feeling is the cause, the origination, and the requisite condition for craving. Feeling conditions craving. Craving conditions seeking. Seeking conditions acquisition. Acquisition conditions discriminating. Discriminating conditions desire and passion. Desire and passion conditions attachment. Attachment conditions possessiveness. Possessiveness conditions stinginess. Stinginess conditions defensiveness. And because of defensiveness, dependent upon defensiveness, various evil, unskillful phenomena come into play. The taking up of weapons, conflicts, quarrels and disputes, accusations, divisive speech, and lies. There was an old saying that used to go around the practice community much more than it does now, which was a statement the Buddha made: practice as though your hair was on fire. And this is part of what would inspire such a statement. What the Buddha is saying here is feeling being inescapable, because there is no absence of feeling. There is feeling, and feeling conditions craving, and step by step from craving to conflict. The antidote is not to be free of feeling, it's to be mindful of feeling, to know the arising of wanting, to know the arising of not wanting, to be able to pay attention in our practice to the appearance of preference, not with any negative or angry sense, maybe even more so with an affectionate sense. Oh, hello, old friend, you're here. Of course you're here. That's part of life, preference, wanting, not wanting. Because you want something, you do not have to act on that want. You are not a prisoner, or perhaps you are. You do not need to be. Just because there's something you don't want doesn't have to force your actions. You can be free of the compulsion to act upon your wishes that come from your preferences. In the Eightfold Path, the Buddha has one of the factors is called right intention. And one of the categories of right intention is the intention to be free of the domination of wanting and not wanting. Not to be free of their existence, though that could come, but to be free of being fettered, dominated, bound by what comes up in wanting and not wanting. And the example I love the most is we raise children, they want to have cookies for dinner. And you say, no, you need to eat this wholesome food, it's nourishing. You can have one cookie. But I want, but I want, but I want. We don't follow that wanting if we want to be experiencing well-being. And so the plate of food is served and there are vegetables on the plate. I don't want, I don't want, I don't want. And again, you say, it's nourishing. It will enhance your well-being. Wanting and not wanting are not our best forms of information to make decisions by. Wisdom, experience, good friends, These are the most important things in developing a decision-making process that leads to well-being. So for our practice today, I want to focus on those lines. I will breathe in, sensitive to wanting. I will breathe out, sensitive to wanting. I will breathe in, sensitive to not wanting. I will breathe out, sensitive to not wanting. Sensitive. Sensitive is subtle. It's a subtle knowing. It's not that you're going to focus like a laser beam your intention in the practice to notice every arising wanting and not wanting. You're just going to leave a subtle place of noticing, a sensitivity to when it's apparent that wanting is present, when it's apparent that not wanting is present. And then to bring the attention back to the breath, to note breathing in, to note breathing out, to rest calm and supported with the breath, all the while being sensitive to when wanting or not wanting appears. So let's try this.